And welcome to Let Them Talk. I'm Paul DiRienzo.
And I'm Miss Joan Marie Musi.
And welcome back, Juan Valenzuela.
Thank you very much.
Second visit.
Pleasure.
Great. And we have an interesting, we're going to listen to some unpublished work by a great poet, and you're going to tell us a little bit. We're going to continue sort of the last show, which we were talking about Pedro Pietri's work.
Right.
And you yourself, Juan, are an accomplished playwright and actor, and have been involved in all that kind of stuff.
That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
And we have your friend Pedro, who's not with us now, but he's with us in spirit, and he's with us in his works. And
his image is behind us.
Yes, and his image is behind us as well.
Yeah. I think it's very nice of you to have me here, and I'm very pleased to present this work.
Oh, wonderful!
You'll see. You'll see.
Right, well, we're very interested to hear.
After we, finish, probably we can talk a little bit more about this because the night could go long.
Right.
It was an evening. I believe it was spring in the year 1986 when Pedro came to my apartment on 10th Street in the East Village. And he came with this young lady, beautiful young lady, from Saltillo, Coahuila, in Mexico.
Okay.
And she was a poet. And she was here in New York. Her name, Marta. She was here in New York attending a gathering or a symposium of poets. Of course, Pedro loved her.
Yes, that's right on.
And the first thing that he did was to bring her to my house. She had shoulder-length black hair, fantastic skin, hairs. Her eyes were dark brown, delineated by a very fine black pencil line. Her lips were carnal, seductive. I couldn't tell if she had lipstick or not in the beginning. We had a wonderful night, very animated conversation. We drank rum, we smoked, and by midnight they left. Everybody happy, great night. I never saw this woman again, but Pedro developed a relationship with her, a relationship that was tumultuous and sometimes explosive. They both had mates. So what happened was that she was in love with his poetry, his writing. He was in love with her. So there you have the eternal fight, flesh and spirit.
Yes.
So they interchanged letters, and Pedro wrote poems, and these poems were written in Spanish, and Marta edited them. But that Pedro wrote in Spanish was unusual because most of his work was in English or Spanglish. But this is straight
This is a good spot. Give a little background on who Pedro Pietri was.
Well, he's a Nuyorican poet, maybe arguably one of the best Nuyorican poets. He was involved with the Young Lords. He was the poet laureate of the Young Lords. And later on in his life, he began to write plays. And that's how we met. He had a lot of respect for my writing, my playwriting, and my directing.
So he lived here in New York.
Yes.
Nuyorican, New York.
Since he was 4 years old. Well, to finish the story, he later on went to Mexico to see her, and once there, they got married. But they got married in a cemetery. At the El Cerro del Pueblo, which is the People's Mountain. And but this was not a marriage to be consummated on earth. It was a marriage to be consummated after their death in the beyond.
Okay.
The result or the product of this relationship,
Sure.
as all these poems that have been put under the title Amor de mi Muerte,
Okay.
which I would like to read some excerpts.
Sure.
Wonderful,
Go right
yes.
ahead.
Okay. Inventados por el reverendo Pedro J. Pietri, Ciudad de Nueva York y Saltillo, México, 1987. Feliz cumpleaños. No es ningún secreto que la vida no hace daño y la muerte es bisexual y nos deja entender que todos somos normales. El único crimen conocido en la historia del mundo es vida eterna. Eso es imposible por ahora. Los poemas seguirán escribiendo tu nombre en páginas que caen del cielo al techo de tu casa en Saltillo. Fue y seguirá siendo un placer nuestra tragedia. No me despedí de ti por ahora, con docena de rosas amarillas y ratón muerto en plato de oro para tu viaje de vuelo bajo tierra. Ni adiós o bienvenida se encuentra en nuestro diario vocabulario de barrio, de dignatarios y disparateros unidos en la lucha contra todo. Esta noche te odio, porque tengo que dormir y no puedo, hasta que termine de escribir estas cartas de Marta y más Martas. Y tú preguntas, ¿por qué este loco no me ha escrito todavía? Y no hay respuesta racional, porque lo nuestro terminó cuando no se estrelló ese avión que te llevó y te dejó sola en medio aire, buscando los tristes pájaros de purgatorio para acompañarte en tu próxima pesadilla al fin de otro poema. Si no me dan de beber o fumar, no voy a recitar o contestar preguntas al fin de esta lectura. No me importa un carajo si se van o se quedan. Los que se van, que se vayan. Y los que se quedan, que también se vayan. Para yo terminar antes de empezar a hablar. ¿Es verdad que no es verdad que hay verdad? Pregunta a un mentiroso joven a un mentiroso viejo. El viejo le contesta, estoy y no estoy de acuerdo, porque también entiendo y no entiendo que hay que decir muchas mentiras para poder ser honesto por 10 segundos en este mundo de nada sagrado. Y eso también es mentira. La próxima vez que te acuestes con una mujer que ama solo la fama para alimentar un secreto espiritual, sueña con este poeta. Quiero también conocer ese placer con el título de supernatural. En ese sueño, amárrame con la soga del último amante tuyo que se ahorcó, para que yo no pueda interponer esa sagrada ceremonia de novia con novia. El novio prisionero en silla de ruedas de goma, vacía, al lado de la cama, donde ella ama a ella. Y él pierde la cabeza, sudando, rezando para que nunca termine el sueño. Tú me haces falta, porque sé que nunca en esta tierra prometida los insectos y difuntos tocarán la puerta para entrar. Eres libre y por eso te odio, con un amor misterioso y dulce. Si no me mortificas, si no me prometes odio, si no me traicionas otra vez, no me dejas otra alternativa. Quemaré tus poemas antes que se escapen de tus ojos, para que puedas descansar en paz por ahora y nunca por siempre en este mundo. A las 4:30 de la mañana, tocaste la puerta de casa, borracha, quejándote de todo y de nada, más de nada que de todo. Me criticaste por encontrarme dormido, cuando bien sé que los poetas no duermen. Yo estaba cansado, no tenía la energía para darte una gardenia por tratar de joder mi cabeza. La única noche del año que duermo. Malditos sean los hombres que prohíben que mis labios besen los labios de otra y otra mujer. Gritaste con mucha pena en la voz. Yo inmediatamente me desperté para defender mi nivel de perversión. Tú, cuando me viste inocentemente caliente, con decadencia te dormiste. Se sentó una mariposa ladrona en la tumba del Espíritu Santo para buscar basura y botar poemas de una maleta llena de tierra azul, robada de un cementerio de aluminio. Lo que yo sé es que lo sé todo, dijo el filósofo mexicano don Juan Valenzuela, viudo de Santa Bárbara, de la 8ª Avenida, en el distrito de Luz Roja. Santa Bárbara es secretaria de Estado del barrio transexual y jura por su difunta madre que ella y él fueron examantes del pintor Salvador Dalí y le dio gonorrea a Sócrates bajo el puente de Brooklyn una noche de luna llena. Hoy tomé la gran decisión de estar solo y sentirme triste, con copa rota en la mano izquierda, llena de vino de uvas del infierno, y masturbarme con la mano derecha, pensando en todas las difuntas que me han cariñosamente asesinado, para que el amor me siga dando bendita amnesia la próxima mañana, en bañera llena de agua caliente, pitando el himno nacional en japonés. Porque eres mujer, es un placer conocerte cuando la luna está llena y la noche se esconde en tus ojos de magia negra, de cielo dentro de la tierra, que tiembla cuando trato de besarte y no me dejas porque juras que eres novia de nadie y amante de todos que respetan tu soledad. Yo lo juro por tu madre, porque Dios no merece ese honor, que aunque no me ames para siempre, voy a llorar cuando te mueras, desnudarme en la funeraria, brincar dentro del ataúd, besarte la boca y chupar la nieve de tus senos con pasión sagrada y decadente. No me importa lo que digan las gentes cuando yo entre dentro de tu cuerpo de luz apagada, para que al fin de esa boda negra tú tengas juventud eterna más allá en el olvido. Pido que no me perdones. Fuera y dentro de un espejo, dormida de novia te admiro, con risa y lágrimas en los ojos, con la escoba barriendo el piso de un monasterio de monjas tímidas que no comulgan con sus obsesiones por miedo a orgasmos involuntarios durante oraciones y canciones catilocargadas, lamentando el dolor de desilusión sin remedio mortal de las bellas mariposas deprimidas, porque hay vida después de muerte, canta el gallo por la madrugada. En este y el otro y el próximo fascinante miedo a la luz del día, yo, reverendo, absurdo y orgulloso, sin pecado o crimen contra la rebeldía, yo, poeta somnoliento de versos antirreligiosos, solo me escondo detrás de mi sombra, con malicia abro esa sombrilla nocturna y negativa que una bruja virgen se le olvidó cerrar en ese antimanicomio dormitorio, a donde es imposible dormir de noche y de día se piensa la última vez que colectivamente desnudamos a la muerte, tomando y fumando y cantando, negando haber nacido para evitar reencarnación en otra nación de piel, de ojos, de ríos, de sangre. Así, no hay que escribir más para amanecer dueño de destino y desayuno de hierba buena con ron toncú y coca pura. Y yo, enemigo número uno de la formalidad, usé mis talentos literarios para en paz y en pánico de puto con luto académico, ceremonialmente masturbarme gritando: ¡soy difunto! ¡Eres difunta! ¡Felicidades! Estos poemas de amor, masturbación y necrofilia son dedicados a la poeta Marta Margarita Tamés y nadie más. Okay.
Well, that was an incredible experience to listen to you recite that. I'm not fluent in Spanish, and I still could tell what you were talking about.
You did, great. Okay.
That was
Millions of New
fantastic.
Yorkers.
That was really fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
What a performance.
This is, you know, Pedro was a little bit of a joker.
Okay.
You know,
yeah.
he was a joker. And I never read this. He never showed it to me while he was alive.
Oh, how interesting.
Tell
us how you came about having it.
I was with the widow, and the widow, you know, his work is at Hunter College.
Yes.
And
it's all archived there.
Archived there. And the widow was going through things, and then he said, look at this. And when I read it, I said,
You're like, I never saw this.
He didn't write this.
Yeah.
He didn't write this. First of all, it was in Spanish.
Right.
And Pedro always wrote in English and
Right.
Spanglish. And then I understood, I found out that Marta had, you know,
She was the editor. On
editor,
this. Yes.
and editor, but the spirit and the thing is Pedro. I mean, definitely.
Yeah.
And I don't think about it anymore. Why he didn't show me this work? Because he would write a play, and the first thing he would do would be to bring it to me for criticism or input,
Right.
or whatever. When I say he was a joker, you know, there is a poem, Yo entiendo, no entiendo. I understand, but I don't understand. You know, he always would do that. When he died, he had 3 cancerous ulcers in his stomach. You know, he was losing a lot of weight.
Poor guy, yeah.
They opened him up and they
It's
closed
like
him.
too bad, yeah.
And they said, you got 6 months. You know, the guy said, I'm going to Mexico, where Steve McQueen and other celebrities
try
have
some other
tried some
alternative
other
treatment.
alternative,
Yes.
exactly. Well, at one point they told him, you got maybe 2 days, you're
It's
dying.
not going to
You're
happen,
dying."
yeah.
So they put him on a ambulance jet,
Oh, really?
and he died up in the sky.
Oh,
Really?
wow.
The thing is, as I say, he was a joker. you know.
Yes.
He died at 11 p.m. Pacific time. It was 2 a.m. Eastern time.
Yes.
When they were writing the obituary, all of a sudden, the people that were doing, the family and all that, did he die on March
Which
3rd
day,
or
right?
March 4th? And then,
You left him wondering,
he
right?
left it, and typical Pedro
Right.
Pietri, even in death,
Right.
he was joking.
He found a
with
way to-
us.
yeah.
He
Right.
found a way to
Get back
you know,
over.
yeah, to joke with us, and he was. But there you have it. His poems are, I think, he's a great poet.
Yes.
I love.
One of the best, yeah.
I love.
Was he
his poetry.
recognized in his life? I mean, did people recognize his
Yes. He didn't even know how well recognized he was,
Uh-huh.
because when he died, people from
It's huge.
Argentina,
Yeah.
people, you know, I don't remember. I wrote a book. He was translated into the Italian in some university in Florence.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what university published a whole book
Oh,
of
really?
poems, and they were
Translated into Italian.
translated
Oh, wow.
into that. Sometimes, you know, I know a little bit of Italian. They haven't invited me to read some of his poems, and just to be a joker, I read it in
In Italian?
you know, I can read Italian, and
Sure,
I can
yeah,
pronounce.
the Romance languages are
Yes,
close enough
and-
for the
and
visual.
most of the
yeah.
time, people like it. I say, "Oh wow, Pedro sounds great
In
in Italian."
Italian.
Yeah, and I say, "Well,
in this poem, there are some photographs. So, what is the significance of the photographs?
getting married. Show it. Getting
All right,
married.
this is the wedding shot.
That's the wedding shot.
Right.
That's the wedding shot. That's
Okay.
right. That's when Martha and him got married. And you know, in one of his poems, what he's saying,
Yeah.
since they were going to be together, the
Yeah.
union in the beyond.
Right.
When
Sort of like Mormons
when
believe. Yes.
when she took the airplane, you know, he was rooting for the airplane to crash.
So they could die together.
Yes,
Because that's where they could be married.
That's where they could be together.
They
you
could be
know.
together after
So
that.
and you know, I thought, my God, there were more than 100 people in
Yes,
there too.
right.
I mean, but
Quite
this
a-
guy,
Train.
you know, his love. This is the eternal fight. The reason I love this book, you know, this collection of poems, is because there is the fight between the flesh and the spirit,
yes.
that so many artists, filmmakers, poets.
It's an eternal theme.
It's an eternal
yes.
theme, but his angle.
He's got a unique angle.
He's got a
on it.
very unique. he's
Now
got
tell
a very-
people the title and then translate it for people.
Amor de mi muerte. Amor is my love.
Yes,
De mi muerte is of my death.
death, yes.
You know, it's right. He's definitely something. You know, in this book, when I read it in Spanish, I'm not saying, and I'm not comparing him to Baudelaire or Rimbaud. I mean, Baudelaire had this. I mean, they are known as the evil poets. You
Right.
know,
Sure.
but the spirit of
Is in that school.
of that is in that
Yes.
is in that schooling here.
Yes.
And so you know, I hope this.
Well, it has to be published.
Yeah,
yes.
we're trying to publish, and I'm.
Now, if it's published, will it be published in Spanish, or will it be a Spanish with an English translation attached?
In the beginning, it's going to be in Spanish
Yes.
with a CD.
Oh, that's interesting.
Me
Of you performing the
reading,
play, yes.
reading,
I mean, the
reading
poem,
the
yes.
poems.
Mhm.
Once that happens, I'm sure it won't be any trouble translating
To get a
it-
translator to
translating
change
to
that,
English,
yeah.
and of course, then you know, I will not translate. You know, I'm not a translator. Right?
No,
So
that is a
it's
particular
it's
skill,
a
isn't
very
it?
particular
Yes, a
skill,
literary
that's
trans.
right.
I have a friend who's a literary
Right.
translator.
And I don't
it's-
know if I should do the reading, because although my
I think you
accent,
should.
my accent is not
It's
thick.
very good, yeah.
Although my accent is not thick, you know, people would understand. what
Yes,
I'm saying.
absolutely.
But probably, well, you think it would be all right?
I think it's the ideal thing, actually,
I
because
would suggest it. Yeah,
Right.
do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
you have the right
that's-
feeling.
you do. You have
really
an incredible
understand it.
understanding and grasp for
You
the
understand
material.
which is
So
important.
Well, I mean, you are, you know, very nice, and I think I probably try.
yes, you should. You
well,
absolutely should. I think because both times that you've come on, there's an obvious emotional connection
Uh-huh.
that can't be manufactured. Do you know what I
Exactly,
mean? You can't
exactly.
just take an actor and say, okay, read
Read
this,
this,
and have
yes.
the same kind of effect as a person that came up with the person, understands a lot about their psyche, understands their writing.
Right.
You know, you're in a unique position in that sense that there's probably not a lot of people who are in the same position with regard to this particular artist.
Exactly.
And so it's important that
I mean,
you use that closeness to this situation to
My goodness, we, you know, he was the man that showed me Manhattan. To tell you the truth, when I first arrived, I was very.
We had a
something in
real
San Francisco.
connection with
How did he
Yeah.
see Manhattan?
He
Yes, how did Pedro see
he
Manhattan?
loved it. You know,
Right.
he loved Manhattan. And
Like
he
we
was a
all do,
character.
yeah.
All right, where
He
was
was-
it? What
he-
would you do with him? What would be his favorite places to go?
He took me from Harlem to Battery Park.
oh, that's great. He could go anywhere type
West,
of person.
east, always with a half a pint of Don Q rum and a couple of joints. And usually would be to visit
A girl.
girls.
Yes.
On the way.
And you know, I was
Well, that
married.
sounds pretty fun. Huh?
Yeah.
I was married, and you know, I was monogamous. You know, I loved my wife, and my God, Pedro, I met. At the time, he had a crush, and he was working with Sonia Manzano,
Okay.
who plays Maria in Sesame Street.
Okay.
Oh, no.
You know, and she sort of said, Pedro.
Like, sorry.
And oh, he was so mad, you know, with Sonia for years and
That's
years.
funny.
You know,
He didn't like being rejected.
and he didn't like. Well, he had this thing, you know, when he did a play. Usually, the leading lady, you know, was
Something happened.
approached.
Yes.
And I told him, you know, when I direct a play of yours, you are going to leave the leading lady alone. You understand that?
Try to behave.
You know. So you know what I did? And the play that I did called Jesus is Living, the woman playing the lead part was my wife. So
He better hands off that.
It was hands off. It was totally hands off.
That's
you know.
hilarious.
He couldn't do.
You didn't cast a young girl no
my,
one knew.
That was my second wife.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my second wife.
Because we know you like to get married.
Well, you know, it's not that I like to get married. It's like things happen.
Three times.
3 times, 3 divorces, and I think I'm a very hard man to live with. You know, I don't blame them. I thank them for loving me.
That's
and,
right. And the children and the
children, and they were. You know, I was. I'm terrible. I'm a tyrant. You know, I'm a tyrant. You know, I really.
That's why you're a director.
Yes,
That's
exactly. And people that don't do what I say when I'm
In charge.
in
right?
charge, they go.
Yeah. You're fired.
You're fired. You know, it's like it's got to be this
So
way.
it's interesting that you got along with him because you sound like 2 alpha males.
Oh my goodness, yes. But
So
that's
did you have a tumultuous relationship too?
with Pedro?
Yes.
No, until the end in,
Oh, okay.
in the 90s. In the 90s, where there
But at first, no.
was the same woman.
yes.
But no. We had a very good relationship, and the foundation of the relationship was my artistry.
Yes.
To him, I was the best
You
director.
had an intellectual base.
Yeah.
That's
And,
so important.
And
yeah.
I came to his life when he was beginning to write plays.
Ah.
You know, and I was already
Yes, you were
formed.
established
I
as
was
a
established
playwright.
as a
yes.
playwright. I was already.
Well, this has been so interesting, and I'm so glad you could come and read this.
Thank you,
Oh,
Juan Valenzuela, for joining us on Let Them Talk.
Thank
Hope to
you.
Have you again sometime.
Absolutely.
Thank you for
I
reading
hope
this
so.
work.
Welcome
All right, great.
anytime.
All right.
And we'll see you next week. Take care.
Okay. Thank you.